Okay, so we're going to try this again. I figured out why my original stream of the first chapter, well, prologue, I guess, of the Ambassador and Night Routes for Errant Kingdom didn't work for, and I corrected that. So when I streamed the prologue for the nomad route, it worked fine. So I'm re-recording the Ambassador and Night Routes to post on YouTube. So this should be up on YouTube if you're watching this. So I hope people enjoy this. So if things seem a little odd, that's why. So we're going to go ahead and start with a new game. Because technically I still have the save game, but there's some parts that you miss if you go with, if I just reload the save. So this is the only time I'm going to, so, and then with the night, I'm actually going to change the name that I'm using. I'm not changing the ambassador's name, which is Rahim, which is Arabic for kind and compassionate. So that seemed fitting for an ambassador. And then the last name, the Arabic pronunciation is Kadir, or Kadir. Emphasis goes either way, which means capable, powerful. So that seems fitting. So we're going with he, him pronouns, and Leopan, say human hybrid, just because for me, playing video games is about not being me. It's about being someone else. So what's more not me than being something that's not human? So most games these days, my first character isn't usually human if there's a choice of races these days. And we're starting with the ambassador route. You notice there's the knight and the nomad. We will get to those. So the ambassador, and I love the backs of the cards. It's so cool. Heaven and hell suppose two distinct species of men, the good and the bad. But the greatest part of mankind floats betwixt vice and virtue, David Hume. And he was right. In the country of Errant is the kingdom of Novus, a place steeped in a bloody and tumultuous history and its climb to glory. The king and queen hold peace over their domain, but with questionable means. Military strength is as powerful as ever, and their researchers toil over new ideas to advance the realm, sometimes in ways most would question. Lofty and comfortable, yet at the cost of power comes the hubris of man. One of Novus's most celebrated knights, Sir Eric Nistrom, has served the crown for many years and is well loved by the people. However, his love and ambition soon stripped him of his rank of knight commander when he disobeyed the crown in favor of his own morals. How dare he? His dishonorable discharge has set waves unease rippling across the kingdom, only serving to fuel the people's distrust in their rulers. So this part is different depending on which route you pick. The stuff before, that's the same regardless of route. So this changes depending on whether you pick the ambassador, the knight, or the nomad. And I know this for sure because I just did the nomad route last week. And I meant to have this up by the following Saturday, but stuff happened. I forgot to read that. Oranges and Viscus are sisters as sun and moon, made to contrast as their fates are bound, and so the golden king of Viscus sent his dove to an aristocrat in his court. I said aristocrat, didn't I? I love the music movie, but that's not what they are. They're an aristocrat. But how many people kept thinking it was aristocrat for a long time? An order of paramount importance and prestige in its clause. He has chosen one of his treasured courtiers to shoulder the mantle of ambassador and bids him to prepare for the journey with haste. The newly appointed ambassador arrives in Novus just in time to witness the safety of the king and queen unravel. While they remain living and breathing flesh and blood, their would-be assassin is still at large. And thus begins the tale. Errant Kingdom. And then the reason for the title will become apparent in time. Feels a little odd. I'm used to having the stream open on my PC while I'm playing on my laptop. Errant Kingdom contains foul language, dark and mid-mild violence, alcohol use, and other mature content. All characters in this game are works of fiction, and any likenesses to persons, human beings, or assassins or otherwise are coincidental. Okay. Ambassador. Oh, and I had originally used voices for the different characters. Decided not to do that because I can't remember what voices I did for whom, and just didn't want to try to keep up. Though my tone and there may be slight changes depending on characters, just because. But I'm not going to do very obviously different voices. Forcefully, I pull myself back from reminiscing from thoughts of my homeland and how far I am from it now, to smile at the blue-clad woman walking at my side. Lady Maja Olayinka smiles back, but there's something in her eyes and the tilt of her head that make me think she isn't convinced. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't hide the text box on the CGs, which is annoying. But she's beautiful. And I played the ambassador route first, so this was the first CG I got, and I was like, whoa, hello. Lady Maja smiles back, but there's something in her eyes and the tilt of her head that makes me think she is convinced, and I'm sure I read that before, but I got distracted by the praise. My apologies for the distraction, especially when you're being so gracious in giving me this tour. And you are being very gracious in humoring me for this tour. I would have let you sleep in longer had there been better timing. She doesn't elaborate on what better timing means, and I don't ask. I don't need to ask. There's quite a quiet form of tension here in the castle that nobody is telling me anything about since I arrived, admittedly not very long ago. So, in terms of arrivals at Novus, the ambassador is the most recent arrival. I believe the knight actually arrives first, and then the nomad, and then the ambassador. But the way the actual prologues are set up, the ambassador starts earliest, and then the knight kind of starts like that, the evening of the ambassadors, and then the nomad starts the day after. So that's part of the reason for doing that, and plus, I like the ambassador route so much, and I think a lot of people just blow it off because it's an ambassador. It's not as exciting as being a knight or a nomad. But I think it can be fun to be the ambassador. And I can't help but wonder if it's got anything to do with the presence of a certain veteran ambassador. You know, me. When a post is usually held until death or retirement suddenly changes hands, well, it's only natural that it's not a joyous occasion. Not that anyone has bothered to tell me the specifics about why my king has decided to instate a new ambassador. I expect that question will be answered soon. I hope. We glance at Macha's other side, at our much less involved companion. The light glimpse coldly off of Knight Commander Livia Vasil's black armor and her platinum blonde hair. I'm sure it'll glint as coldly off her eyes, too, if she ever bothers to look at me. She doesn't. Not at me, not even at Masha. Her eyes are fixed straight ahead, her mouth set in a grim, severe line. Posture evidently perfect, even with all her heavy armor. Yeah, that intrigues me, but there's a reason that I really wish I could romance Cassandra Pendergast from Dragon Age Inquisition. On a female character. call her the harbinger of Ithris' golden halls, an epithet spoken with wryness, with annoyance, with nervousness there, and in her homeland. Yes, I should be happy she's not trying to involve herself with this conversation. I can't help feeling like she doesn't want to be here either, though. Maybe Maja dragged her along. So, just admiring the beautiful sprites, the beautiful artwork that went into them. They look so different. Not just in terms of their posture and their coloring, but just the color palettes that they chose for each of those. It's really amazing, and I love that they did that they have specific color palettes for each character. No need to stand the ceremony, Ambassador. Call me Maja. Everyone else here does. She reminds me of an old tutor I had once, someone kind enough to kill you with it. I love that. And it's no shame for a tired mind to drift. We've had a grueling 2-week journey from the border of Ithris, I'm sure. I smile gratefully at her understanding. She's right, it has been a grueling 2 weeks, and not just from the traveling. Is it too dangerous to ask questions about why your predecessor was so quickly and curtly dismissed from his post? Speaking from a common sense point of view, certainly. You don't look his radiant majesty's gift horse in the mouth. If he declares you the new ambassador to Novus, you say please and thank you and you go. So it's not like you asked for the post. You were given the post. And basically, it's not the sort of thing you turn down. So, the curiosity itches on my tongue. I don't know much about Lady Olayinka yet, but I know that her post as Archmage, which usually covers security of the palace too, has to put her in the know of what happened. And for the record, I'm guessing at how to pronounce some of the names. I'm sure there's a guide on the actual pronunciations, but I can't be bothered to look it up right now. The Vicky just steps with us like death itself, and the even, steady, yet not entirely reassuring sound of her armored boots on the stone flooring eventually convinces me to keep that curiosity to myself. I offer something more diplomatic instead. After all, that is what I am here for. Talk. I insist you call me by my name, too. Our good relations are well worth the rush. Well, if we're already on a first-name basis, why not? Then I insist you call me by my name instead of title as well, Lady Maja. Just Rahim will do. Maja's eyes crinkle at the corners as she smiles. She inclines her head, jewelry clinking like glass, catching the light of the hall's torches. I appreciate the privilege, Rahim. I ask for no such privilege and extend none, Ambassador Kadir. I formally request to address you as proprietary dictates. I feel like that's the wrong version of proprietary. Propriety? I'd have to look it up. Olivia pauses and she's like a force field. We're grounded with her. She looks directly at me and her eyes are the cold steel I expected. There also isn't a question to her words, merely a statement of fact. She has no intention of exchanging pleasantries, it seems, however small or superficial or commonplace. Maja sighs. Of course, my commander. Olivia nods, her expression unreadable. Then she turns her head just a fraction, and Maja picks up the pace again. Almost relieved, I fall into step with them once more. We ascend a short flight of stairs, and then the hall widens into the fresh air. Sunlight spills upon the ground, and I can smell the aroma of seasonal flowers. Someone not familiar with Novian aesthetics might think the garden is being neglected, but I've learned that it's entirely intentional. Columns of marble enchanted with some kind of magic rise high into soaring archways above our heads. Vines climb the columns, feeding off the magic, but I can see from here that there are no cracks in the marble. They are choked with flowers, and I've been told that the vines stay the same, but the blooms change with the seasons. The paths are clearly swept, and I spot stone statues of knights standing in solemn vigils with their blades clutched to their chests. Pride of place is a fountain, and if you add in a few cawing crows, you can see why Novian gardens are such a popular setting in the ghostly romance novels. Every piece of decorative stonework here is enchanted too, I would bet. Our kingdoms have different tastes, but like in Bedford, this garden is probably where inexperienced assassins stumble to die, likewise into a fly trap. Let us hope the little tea party our courtiers plan to host has concluded by now. I would never object to some company, especially since I haven't done much since getting here except sleeping. So I glance at Maja's smile and the way Lydia's eyebrows creased. I wonder if the courtiers in question are those kinds of courtiers. The gossiply, openly rude ones. Or worse, the plotting types. Sure enough, I feel eyes on me. A moment later, I see 3 plumed hats bounce comically from behind a leaning tree, and then 3 well-dressed figures step out into view. They curtsy before Maja, who only responds with a nod. Your ladyships? Livia's words are cold as ice. One of the courtiers, one with considerable wealth and affluence, too, judging from her dress and patronizing manner, shutters a false laugh behind a black-gloved hand. Ever so direct, my commander, and ever so rude. We were just on the way out, that you stand between us and the exit. As you are. Come, ambassador, we best not keep them. Maja gathers her dress in one hand and steps sharply to the side, and I go with her, giving the women a curious look. Words the first one utters drip with barely veiled disdain, perhaps even malice, and her companions cover their mouths with their hands when Livia brings up the rear behind us, as though they're trying to hide a smile. The Knight Commander's jaw clenches, but she says nothing. So do we not say something, or do we say something? We're gonna say something. Are snakes for the aesthetics of this garden, Knight Commanders, or simply visitors? Instantly their eyes turn to me. I smile back and wait to see if they'll carry their venom any further. Livia snorts loud and derisive, but when I catch her eye, there's a crinkle of humor there. There is more to her. I haven't the faintest idea of your meaning, Ambassador. You don't mind snakes, but only the prettiest ones. Maja's jewelry clinks pleasantly as she turns and winks at me, a hand beckoning. We follow the cobblestone path, rounding a couple of large bushes and a tree, then the 3 are out of sight. If either of you actually like snakes, I apologize. I didn't mean to insult the animal. No harm then, my friend. She's so pretty when she laughs. There's a CG of her laughing too later on, just so you know, and it's gorgeous. Were those the courtiers you mentioned as having tea with, by the way? If they were, at least the unpleasantness is over. As a matter of fact, they aren't. If they'd run into the usual crowd, perhaps things would have gotten much more pleasant. They are the triplet daughters of a marquis. Their father rules one of the fortress cities on its borders, actually, so he is newly appointed after some regrettable recent transgressions. So apparently we are going to get artwork of those 3 triplets, so that's going to be fun. Because on the Discord for Lunaris Games, they posted a work in progress featuring the 3. I don't know if it's supposed to be a CG or sprite. But some people were thinking they're from Dragon Age. So I don't blame them for thinking as much, but I had just played this route not long before, so I realized that they're meant to be the triplet daughters. I believe I've heard of that. Something about charges of incompetence of all things? A strange charge to hear, no? But incompetence is a serious crime when your actions and words affect a dozen, 100, 1,000 people. Our monarchs bequeath power among the aristocracy as a means to protect the people they are responsible for. We have faith that these exemplary individuals will, in turn, raise their children in the same understanding and commitment to stewardship. Should they stray, it's only the responsible thing for His and Her Majesty to correct their failings. Though I do sometimes question their choice of this replacement. Beside me, Livia steps falter ever so slightly. At the corner of my eye, I see a brief frown pinch her brow before it vanishes when she notices me looking. Maja notices too, it seems, as she also turns to smile crookedly at Livia. Rest assured, dear Livia, I didn't mean to question their choices. After all, I did help them make that decision. I didn't mean, of course. I'm sure you'll have an opportunity to speak to the ladies soon, Ambassador. They haunt every courtier's gathering. It's rather strange to see them by themselves, actually. I'll look forward to that. Really? No. The connections are important, and it's better to know your opponent's faces than let your own imagination paint them. And follow the graceful gesture of Marsha's hands as she waves them. In the darkened bushes, choked cobblestone path at our feet adopts a mild blue glow. Yeah, for the record, this is the third time I've played through this chapter, because I attempted to record it on its own once before, but that was before I figured out what the problem was. So I am a little tired of this chapter, but I will get through it. Some of the hanging iron lanterns nearby flare alight with blue flames, faint runes shining on the cobblestones carved into the path. Did you ever hear rumors about the Queen's jealous rival who was turned into a spider demon and bound to guard our gardens, devouring any enemies who stumbled in? My associates told me many stories about Novus before I left home. I bet they did. The rumor isn't true. About the Queen's jealous rival, that is. The spiders are normal thugs here. Promise. They don't get to absurd sizes unless the Fae are playing tricks, and they only play tricks on certain festivals. You're on Palace grounds? On occasion. The chapel lies ahead. I turn and Livia is jerking her chin at the last path. I can see that a long, elegant stone staircase descends from the landing, carrying a path towards what indeed looks like a temple of some kind. Above, birds hover, droves of them. How poetic as the crows, I muse. And then we got this CG of Livia, and I was like, yeah. Because there's something about women who have that really tough exterior, but underneath it, are very sweet. Or have a softer side. I mean, there's a reason that I like Cassandra despite her flaws. They just make her more human in a way. And it's the same with Aveline. She may be a little focused, but I still like her because she was so devoted to Wesley, and you know, she could have gone really over the top with becoming the guard captain, but she still tended to look the other way for Hawk and her other friends, even though it would have risked her position. So, and when the night comes with Piper, you know, she's clearly the strong, you know, she has to be strong enough to be not only a hunter, but to make general at such a young age. And then that's all taken away from her. So you see that vulnerability in that first meeting with her where she complains about you taking her job, basically. And so, and it's not just with female characters, with male characters too. If you see that, if they have that softer side underneath, oh, that's kryptonite. That's my kryptonite right there. And tough, stoic characters or tough characters in general with something softer hidden away underneath. And then you get a peek behind that, and you're just, I'm gone. There's a reason that Thorin is, I like Thorin in The Hobbit. But I like him better in the movies than in the books, because you see a bit of that softer side. Richard Armitage just killed it. But anyway. So yeah, we have this picture of Livia, and there's that little tiny curve of a smile there. And I love being able to get that peek behind the stern facade. Then one dives towards us, larger and calling loudly. It glides over my head, going straight for someone behind me. I turn, mouth open in a warning, but Livia is ready. She holds up her arm, and the massive ink-black bird lands on her gauntlet with another caw. For the first time, I see the Knight Commander truly smile. even if only for a brief second, as she strokes the massive raven's sleek feathers. Then her face hardens again when she sees me looking. Oh my, is that a summons order? Olivia flings the raven back into the sky, and he circles once above our heads before flying for the palace. Yes. My apologies, I meant to accompany you for the entire tour, but my attention is required elsewhere. We do find out a little bit more about the bird. I assume it's her raven that swooped down, but you learn a bit more about them in the night route, because she is the knight's direct superior. So I was a little uncertain about doing the romance with her on a night, but for the sake of completion, I wanted to do all of the possible romances for each route. So I went ahead and I did the romance with Lydia and the knight, and that was actually pretty fun. So, I've said it before, I know who I'm going to romance on the ambassador and the nomad. I haven't quite decided for the knight yet. I keep wavering between the two poly routes, and I just hinted at where I'm going with the ambassador and the nomad. But anyway, yeah, I'm kind of wavering between the two route possibilities for the knight. I'll probably decide once I get to that point, but before that, I will try to remember to do all the firsts. But anyway, my apologies, I meant to accompany you for the entire tour, but my attention is required elsewhere. She says it with a straight face, and I don't know how surprised I am, but she seems absolutely genuine as well. Olivia strikes me as the type who doesn't fake it if she doesn't mean it. She doesn't pretend, she's too straightforward. But she holds my eyes as she sees my expression, and, well, I suppose Olivia didn't say whether she likes me or not, just that she meant to say. Is there trouble? Should we return with you? Yes, I need. I'll send a message if your presence is required. Ambassador Kadir, Masha. Olivia salutes us, a curled voice tapping on her breastplate, as she turns on her heels and marches away. Yeah, so Olivia calls her Masha by her name. And you do find out a little later a bit more about their combined backstory. As she disappears back into the arbor, I see the same raven circling back again, probably waiting for her. I glance at Masha and we exchange a look, the lady tapping her chin with an elegant finger. It's likely something to do with the other new arrivals. You aren't the only ambassador freshly arrived. Was it perhaps my fellow countrymen? I heard Her Majesty's recently accepted a Vithrian knight into their ranks. Oh, perhaps. So rest assured, you remain the sole visitor with the privilege of a tour. Oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I smile at her, and my gratitude isn't pretended. Whoever this unknown knight is, given to Novus' command as a peace offering, they'll likely have to deal with Basile. May the spirits of the land preserve them. Come, let me show you our chapel. When we arrive at the chapel, Marcia waves her hands, and the heavy stone doors throw themselves wide open with a low, grinding noise. I half expect the inside to smell musty, but instead it smells like a strange mix of the flowers blooming here and the faintest hint of incense. It's strangely familiar, maybe even something I smelled in the streets of Novus towns when I was passing through to get here. There are shrines of the other gods throughout the palace, but this one we set aside for Nova. Not for Rangara, the god of nature. Not everywhere nature exists is where a god is invited to set his throne. Besides, the old rumors for his spouse would cause too much mayhem if they believe they're invited to come and hold court here. Indeed they would. Temples and shrines are second homes to the spirits they worship, as every child of Vithris learns by the age of 9. Martha seems to guess as much, judging by the way she smiles, but she doesn't comment. She tilts her head to look at the ceiling that soars high above us. There's some kind of painting or carving there I can't really see. What I can see are 4 abstract winged figures attached to each of the columns, staring down at us. I feel their attention, their gazes, and whether they're alive or not, I can't be sure, but they are sentient enough to be watching us. Can't help but take a step away from the threshold, goosebumps on my arms, and decide to refrain from looking up again. Yeah, something like that. What they look like probably changes depending on your mood. Just like Rorschach ink labs. Um, we actually did a thing with them in 8th grade. Just as a demonstration of a story that we read for class, and what each of us saw, so to speak, in the ink blotch, the pictures that they made to us, definitely said a lot about our personal states of mind. I remember one of my classmates saw a lot of fluffy bunnies and teddy bears, and others not so much. So, all this to say that I'm pretty sure these winged figures are kind of in the same vein. I don't know what it would be for me. If I'm not feeling guilty, probably something benign. Let us be on our way. Marshall bowed to the chapel at large. I bowed too, for courtesy's sake, and I couldn't be happier to see the chapel doors swinging shut behind us as we leave. The garden suddenly feels very, very cool. Cedric, my knight, is as unhappy as I can imagine. Would it have killed you to wait for me? Would it have absolutely devastated our relations with Novus if you'd given me, 10 bloody minutes to come back and go with you? Maybe pouty is the term I'm looking for. Notice his pointed ears? He has sensei blood himself. I wasn't about to tell the Grand Archmage and the Harbinger of Death to wait for a single wayward knight, Sir Cedric. I would never roll my eyes in public, but it's only Cedric and I here, so I roll them hard. He snorts, his chainmail clinking as he shifts on his feet. For all his whining, the look in his dark eyes is keen and his smile bright. Did you enjoy your outing? It was just a simple tour, Commander Vasile isn't really a talker, but Lady Maja was the epitome of a welcoming host. I never remember how to pronounce that word. I don't know if she came to offer the tour out of friendship or if she was trying to put spy spells on me, though. So this is something you can establish with your ambassador if they know magic or not. Not that I wouldn't be able to tell if she had. The fundamentals of magic is a required study for all of the nobility and victors, but I've long since excelled at merely the fundamentals. I haven't said as much yet, since it's nobody's business what I can and can't do with magic, but I wonder if Lady Maja already sensed it. Charming. I don't to take any offers of friendship from them with a grain of salt. Your predecessor apparently got expelled for asking too many questions. They chased him out of the castle without hesitation. I figured as much. Was there anything else you found out? No, sadly, this castle is a tight-lipped lot, but that ever so resourceful handmaiden that she is hard at work remedying that as we play court. He grins, too wide and kooky and mischievous to befit a knight. That's always been Cedric, and also what I appreciate the most about him. By what measures do you judge a knight, after all, aside from a loyal heart? Sir Cedric counts his honor by his faithfulness to me and my ambitions, and that, to me, is more than enough. That he's also one of the finest mages in our court is, of course, simply an irreplaceable advantage. That he does look to remind me about quite often, but the man can have a little pride. Still, let's back off on the court of curiosity for now. I don't want us to dig ourselves deeper into the hole my predecessor left us in, not before I know exactly how deep this goes, and what's at the bottom of it. As you wish. Aren't you glad you brought your most loyal knight and most nosiest and dependable maidservant with you on this trip of dubious return? The most nosiest part applies to both you and Yvette, I should remind you. Maybe, but I'm decidedly the prettier of us two. Good luck taking that up with Yvette. Now go. Can't have something or someone sneak up on us and make up some wild accusations to turn me into the second citizen to be exiled from Novus in a month. Cedric sneers, but I see worry in his eyes. He steps closer, and I let him lay his hand on the hilt of the dagger that sits at my belt. He whispers words of power, close enough to be a secret between us. I feel his magic coil around the blade. As he withdraws, I lay a hand on his arm. I am sorry for not waiting for you. Don't be, my liege. Thy blade is always at your side. He lightens the weight of the words with a wink, then departs with another bow. Clearing my throat to beat back a lonely silence, I get to my feet. I've already dismissed my servants for the night, so might as well follow their example and go to bed. Then an obviously gauntleted hand hammers on the door. Ambassador? Ambassador Kadir, are you in there? Yes, I am. You can stop shouting. What is it? The guard has his helmet on, so I don't know if he looks even halfway apologetic. I doubt it, so I don't open the door fully, so he doesn't see how tightly I clutch at Cedric's enchanted dagger. My sincerest apologies for the interruption, Ambassador, but you must come with me at once. Knight Commander's orders. Why? What happened? There's an assassin in the loose, Commander, on the loose. Commander Bastille orders that all persons of importance are to be gathered under our protection at once. Well, shit. Okay, quick pause here. As we switch scenes, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Maybe not. The room is only full when the guard shows me in. They're not full of people, necessarily. There are hardly more than 6 or 7 about, and I immediately recognize the 3 daughters of the Marquis I met in the garden earlier, and others. For us, this is important, as my escort had said, even if I don't necessarily recall their names immediately. Please make yourself comfortable, Ambassador Kadir. Knight Commander Basile asks that you remain here until we return to let you know it's safe to leave. Near the back, almost blending into the walls, save for the highlights of gold in their jewelry and clothes, a tall and horned individual chuckles. Loud enough to be heard by all, too, and I notice immediately how the Marquis's daughters shuffled further from them. Asked? Dear Livia, hardly needs you to sweeten her command, but we stay here until she gives us permission to leave or else. Perhaps right, Ambassador Veritas, but I know my place. With those wording words, the guard shuts the door. The demon tilts her head back and laughs. Nobody else in the room joins them, not that they seem to mind. They also, unfortunately, occupy the sole safe corner in the room. The 2 existing benches are taken, one by a snoring rotund man who doesn't seem to care he's drooling all over his fancy clothes, and the other by the sisters from the garden. The window is occupied by a group of severe-faced gentlemen, one cutting me with a disdainful look the moment I glance their way. No friends there, then. I make a conscious effort to uncurl my fingers from around my dagger and walk to the lone ambassador, trying not to think about how convenient it is that there's an attempt on the monarch's lives within a day of my arrival. I'm sure the others here are thinking the same. Unfortunately, Ambassador Veritas at least greets me with a smile. Not a nice one, an inquisitive one, the shuffler eyes sizing me up. Ambassador Veritas, I presume? Ah, please. From one wayward ambassador to another, I propose we forgo the formality. Call me Lucian. Very well, Lucian. A demon, perhaps not the sole demon in Novus's court, but the one most willing to advertise themselves, so to speak. I mean, just look at their outfit. That is, even if they weren't a demon, even if they were human, that would still be enough to draw anyone's eye. Their towering height, elegant horns, gold-gilded clothing, and the sheer confident ease with which they exist, sitting casually against the wall in this lounge full of anxious aristocrats, is enchanting. A pleasure, Rahim. I hope you've been enjoying Novus late-night assassinations and herding aside. Leave it to a demon to not take such breaches of security seriously. Discord is in your very blood, isn't it? Lucian lifts her head almost lazily and looks at the speaker, one of the red-faced gentlemen by the window. There's a moment of silence, then the man looks away, face turning purple. He mutters something to his companions, who sigh. One of them tilts his head, and what I decide to accept as a grudging apology. What's going on? Play along. Oh, we're going to play along. If I didn't know better, I'd say I prefer the dungeon. Less unpleasant company down there with the rats and murderers. Lucian smiles, close-lipped but mischievous. They incline their head, the jewelry gleaming in the candlelight. They are, I realize, beautiful, in the strange way fairies often are, but different. An outsider, comfortable in their own skin, surrounded by nothing that's even remotely like them. It's remarkable. It's also making me remember the few long-living courtiers in the Vithrian court and what a nuisance those can be. Here, here. But what can we do, helpless courtiers that we are, held under suspicion? Before I can say any more, the door to the room swings open. Instantly, it feels as though a tight wound string had been released. The three gentlemen by the window turn. The Marquis's daughters get to their feet. I can't tell who it is that demands answers first, but the poor messenger is slumped within seconds. For a moment, I feel genuinely concerned that they'll be torn limb from limb. My, that's my cue to make a dramatic exit. I glance over just in time to see them drifting towards the closer wall. They lay a hand on the cold, smooth marble, and then push the door that materializes out of thin air open. You don't care that we were ordered to stay put, do you? Isn't that obvious? Oh my gosh, artwork. Oh, it's so beautiful. Something tells me our armored friend arrived, so I have to go back to our rooms, and I'm far too old to wait for something as childish as a mission. Care to join me, Rahim? You've made lovely company. I wouldn't mind keeping it a little longer. They smile at me, but it's not an altogether wholesome expression. Still, between the choice of following this enigmatic figure and waiting until the courtiers finish devouring the night alive, the thought of standing here waiting to be released from this consignment is galling enough that I decide that God's yes, I'll take the chance. Lucian chuckles low in their throat as I step forward to join them, and the door swings shut behind us with a gentle click that I know will be drowned out by the ruckus inside. Ah, fresh air. I can't possibly ask you to walk me back to my quarters, Lucian. If I minded, I wouldn't have offered. Come. But Lucian asks me where I'm staying, they lead the way, and it doesn't take long for me to note that they're leading me the right way. It seems you've been paying attention. Of course. Though, regrettably, that was the least, how do I say, controversial remark the courts have been clamoring about you and yours. How exciting. I look forward to hearing what they have to say to my face. I figured sophisticated individuals like yourself have more sophisticated means of gathering information than listening to gossip alone. But of course, worry not. You're not the kind of subject matter I employ my sophisticated means of gathering information on. I appreciate that. What subject matters? I would have loved to see you try. Much appreciated. I really value my privacy. Though I suspect there are few things that at night of my mugs more than catching eavesdroppers. Nor, naturally, privacy and trust are such fragile things. I wouldn't dream of violating either. Especially not for anyone whose good opinion I might still have reason to cultivate. Might? You wound me, Lucian. I do like to keep people on their toes. How else can I tell whether or not they're a graceful dancer, metaphorically speaking? Lucian pauses and half turns to me, and I realize we've arrived at the final corner near my quarters. They hold my gaze, the head faintly tilted. I shift my stance, placing my hand on the dagger once more, though it's true I can't sense any intimidation or ill will from the demon. I wonder what they see. It would be impolite for me to say new acquaintance all the way to your chamber door. Such exciting indiscretion ought to be saved for later meetings. Farewell, and good night. They sweep their arm in an extravagant bow, and I am compelled to do the same. Thanks for the escort, Ambassador Barrett. Ambassadors! I nearly jump at the force of the voice, and my dagger responds faster than I could control my spike of cold fear. I turn around to see Knight Commander Vasile thundering towards us, and at the same moment, Cedric's dagger at my belt unfurls. A glowing serpent of crimson smoke manifests, curling protectively around me and showing its fangs to the approaching commander, the absolute last thing I would have wanted, but it's too late. Livia jerks to a stop. Her gauntlet squeaks on the hilt of her sword with how tight she's gripping it, and for a moment I am absolutely sure she will draw it. You dare to... Livia, my dear commander. Smooth as the dancer's glide, Lucian steps between us. I take the opportunity to calm my tripling heart rate, and with a firm mental command, the serpent dissipates. Cedric will know the enchantment was activated and will come running any minute now, but I hope to the gods here and in our homeland, he will for once be fashionably late. And speaking of, Veritas! You are the one who took the Vitskin envoy from the lodge without express permission? She doesn't phrase it as a question. I glance to the back of Lucian's head, both grateful and concerned that they're standing in to take the heat from me. Still, they offer to walk me to my chambers, and I willingly accept it. As soon as I say it, Livia fixes me with wrathful eyes. Maybe I should have stayed quiet after all. The gall you have, Ambassador Katir. I gave an order for everyone to stay put for a reason, and orders are not negotiable. These orders are not guidelines. Wrong button. Are you foolish enough to think yourself above the word of security on these very grounds? There's no one else in the castle Ambassador Katir would be safer with than with me. And I do vouch for the ambassador's innocence in whatever happened, Knight Commander. Take my word for it. It's not a vote of confidence that's the problem, Lucian. You know this. Livia fixes me with a cold glare. But before I can apologize, her shoulders seem to relax. Or at least I see her cauldron shift, making a soft clanking sound. She sighs noisily. And again, see that you do not traipse about tomorrow without a direct summons from one of my guards. I open my mouth to protest. Who does she think she is, Knight Commander or no? I'm not some child to be kept confined to my bedchambers. Olivia burns the words from my mouth with a cold, hard look. Absurdly, abruptly, I'm reminded of those twisted angel statues in the chapel Olivia showed me earlier today. Except now their unformed faces look a little like Livia's. My apologies. This is not a battle worth waging. I realize the summons to the lock came suddenly, but trust me in saying that if I could fully assure your safety within your own chambers, it wouldn't force you to relocate at all. She hugs quietly and presses an armored knuckle to her forehead, muttering something that sounds like a curse. Lucian crosses their arms and snorts in amusement. If it's all the same to you, it seems the snake is still giving your men the runaround. Lizzie's eyes snap open. I lean away, her lashing temper almost a physical force. Snake. But of course he would see fit to add more fuel to this damn flame. I give Lucian a look, hoping to draw from them the identity of the snake without having to ask. Something tells me Lydia's fury will swing back to me if I so much as remind her I'm still there. Then they meet my eyes and shrug nonchalantly. An occasional troublemaking visitor to our fair castle. A nuisance. I must expel him before he makes things worse. Good night, ambassadors, and make certain I don't need to repeat myself in the morning. She glares at me one last time, then spins on her armored heels and clanks away. I can almost hear her teeth gritting from down the hall. When she's out of sight, Lucian chuckles and rubs their chin. Some things never change. She's always been like that, then? For as long as I care to remember. And who is this snake? Lucian glances at me, their expression inscrutable, but they only smile and wink. Someone who saved your hide from a further tongue lashing. Maybe you'll see him if there's business to be had. Speaking of, we both ought to wrap up ours here. Nova forbid the commander walks back this way. I doubt it was how determined she was when she walked the other way. But Lucian is right in that I shouldn't get into any more trouble with anyone else tonight. But before I go, there is one more thing. You owe me for that scolding. Thanks for stepping in. You have my gratitude. For what? For stepping up and admitting that it was I who got you into hot waters? Lucian bows, a hand on their breast, a grin on their face. It's only the right and natural thing to do. I hope to get you back to your chambers before Commander Vasile can swoop me, but alas. Yes, swooping is bad. Dragon Age fans would know the reference. We did come close, at least. The difference between death and near death, one might say. See you again soon, Rahim. With that, Lucian takes their leave. I don't wait for them to be out of sight before I make for the safety of my room. I have no doubt we'll be seeing plenty of each other again very soon. And if you choose to romance them, whether with or without Raiden, the snake in question, that is up to the player. I woke up tired, even though the morning can't come soon enough. The castle's been quiet, almost suspiciously so. Though the library is only a few steps away from my own quarters, yesterday's encounter with the Knight Commander was almost enough to convince me to stay put. Almost. But the silence and the distinct lack of information on what happened the previous night is quick to get to me. The walls of my bedroom became too oppressive too fast, so I was barely sunrise when I'm dressed and sitting in the library. Unfortunately, I barely started perusing the section of how to avoid assassinations guidebooks, of which there are uncertainly many, before there's a knock on the door. It opens before I can turn around, and Maja steps in. She's wringing her hands, which isn't exactly putting me at ease. Still, as soon as she sees me, she smiles. I apologize for the early morning intrusion yet again, my friend. It's no trouble. You can make it up to me by telling me what new developments there are since last night. Maja nods curtly and closes the door behind her. I wonder what she sees on my face that makes her blink, and she immediately holds out her hand. Please rest assured, you don't stand accused of anything. The assassin was not someone with the wiles and means of your homeland, and, well, I have the means and evidence to prove you're innocent. Oh, so you're spying on me. Spying on me? Oh, so you spy. I crossed my arms, felt more amused than anything else. That was the most polite way someone's admitted to have been spying on me so far. Maybe Lucian didn't because Maja has already done so? The back of my neck prickles. What exactly had my predecessor done to warrant this level of scrutiny on me? I'm very glad to hear that, Lady Maja. Even better if you could tell me exactly what these means are. That, I'm afraid, is a trade secret. His and Her Majesties have agreed for a speech to be held in the town square. I'm afraid certain chatty individuals have spread news of the failed assassination beyond the castle walls, and it's imperative we keep people calm. Ah, this. You'd like me to participate? Indeed. It will be an excellent opportunity for you to appear before the people of Novus and show them who you are and what you are here to represent, so that they have less room to paint you with fanciful rumors. Her smile was confident and hopeful, and for a moment faced with flashes from optimism, almost swayed to believe that it's as she says and nothing more. A great way to take hold of a bad situation and make it work. Then I regained my senses, the common one especially. And when is this speech being held? At noon today. I look at the window closest to us. The sun has risen high in the sky already, which is in a few bells, yes. 3 to be exact. Of course, you will not have to speak immediately. There's a matter of gathering townspeople, ushering them into the square in an orderly fashion, the introductions. 3 hours? Just give me more time than that. 3 hours? You want a golden speech in 3 hours? It's almost too quick for me to see it, but I know it somehow surprised her. I don't think it's a good kind of surprise, though. What expectation have I erred on? Marsha doesn't respond right away. Instead, peculiarly, there's a flash of curiosity across her face. I do realize it's extremely inopportune, and I won't make any excuses for how horrifically unfair this schedule runs. But I'm only a messenger, I'm afraid, or rather a forewarner. If left to their own devices, I fear the royal court would spare you even less time to prepare. She's right, and I know it. Rebel to this speech that sounds all but required of me, and I shall still haven't received a formal messenger or summons. It isn't hard to think I have no friends in this place, or rather, none but one. I appreciate your generosity, Masha. You're welcome. But if I may ask, why? Her answer is immediate, and in the way her blue eyes harden, her mouth tightening in anger, I know Masha means every word. I don't care for the reason or methods or airheaded so-called justifications behind such actions or inactions. If these characters want to derive some kind of amusement of seeing a newcomer flounder and fail, I won't permit them to have it at your expense. Yet, as I said, I'm only a messenger. I'd do more if I could. The rest must be up to you. This will be the last time I'll suffer seeing you subjected to this sort of opportunistic, lowly setup. She stands, her graceful movement accompanied by a shift of soft, shimmering fabric. Masha claps her hands together, thoughtful yet unreadable, and smiles at me. See you soon, Ambassador Kadir. Of course. I see her to the door, and she gives me a meaningful glance as she passes through. As soon as it's shut, Cedric detaches himself from the wall and drifts to me. Do you need anything? A fainting couch, a canvas sack to scream into, a real successful assassination to delay the speech tomorrow? Don't even joke about that. He snorts, but it's plain from the look on his face that he's worried. It doesn't matter. What does is that I have 3 bells until I appear before a sea of strangers in a strange land, many of whom probably already suspect me of being the reason for the mess last night. Of course, peasants gossip the same everywhere. They're also likely going to just enjoy a show of some kind. That alone would suffice to entertain them. Which leaves us with the Novian nobles who will, no doubt, hang on to my words like starved wolves to bones. Cedric nods. His mouth is a tight, thin line. I sink into the nearby chair and press my fingers to my temple, hoping that the pain throbbing behind my eyes isn't going to turn into a full-blown headache. Okay, this is going to affect the speech that we give. It does not affect the speech in the other rooms. I'll be the charismatic but intimidating foreigner. I'll show them Vithris's charisma and goodwill. Refuse to play the villain. Damn what they think. Basically, I'm stuck between the 2 middle ones. I'm always stuck between those 2 because I don't really want to do either of the others. I may eventually do those, but not this time. If they're truly putting this in my hands, then so be it, but not what they think I am. I refuse to play the villain in their game. They've underestimated me, I think. I take a deep breath, pick up a quill, and begin to write. After a brief respite in the war room, myself and the majority of the other important housefolk are herded like sheep by a neat line of obsidian-clad knights, one of whom is also the knight from Vithris. Seeing the crowd gathered as we made our approach to the town square set a pit of dread swirling in my gut, but after garnering a few pointed glares from the knight commander, I steeled myself. I've nearly forgotten what I planned to say when finally the lord that currently rambles about gods and fear on the stage steps back, clears his throat, and gestures to the pavilion where I'm seated. And let this incident not be the disruptor of our peace with our fair neighbor, the sun-struck land, golden Vithris. Reluctantly, I rise from my seat. It's a brief 6 steps up the stone staircase to the raised platform, at least. Steps I take carefully, my robes gathered in one hand. I turn to the crowd, the sea of faces, none of whom I know, all of whom stare at me with undivided attention. I used to eyes hidden behind masks, sneers hidden behind golden fans, rivals and enemies plotting for weakness, prideful betters trying to prove me inferior with the force of their expectations alone. But the sea of eyes that look at me now are only curious. I extend my greatest regrets and concern for his and her majesties regarding recent regrettable events. That an assassin was able to slip in like a snake through the garden is unthinkable. It takes an effort to keep the contempt out of my voice, but I manage it. There is a ripple through the crowd. Frowns start forming on some faces. I ignore them. But it's in such uncertain and dangerous times that we must keep our bridges strong and our friends close, and most importantly, our heads clear. Long have Bithris and Errant stood side by side to weather adversities together, and it will take more than an ambitious fumble in the dark to jeopardize our friendship. I fixed Lord Edlin with a sharp look. Merciless. This is what they wanted to hear when they paraded me out here in front of their judgmental capital, isn't it? It's neither a particularly hot day, and we're not standing particularly close. I can almost count the beads of perspiration on his broad, wrinkling forehead. Yes, wise words, Ambassador Kadir. Truly, we are the people of Orentis, of Novus. We, the people of Orentis of Novus, are assured. He smiles at me, close-mouthed, and a little pleadingly. If there's a more desperate plea for me to get the hell off the stage, I wouldn't believe it. I incline my head at him and do as he asks, with as much willingness as anyone can imagine. It's never easy standing in front of a crowd for a speech. Amen. Harder still when they aren't your people, and even less pleasure when they're this lot who don't clap or even acknowledge your departure. But it was what I expect, certainly not enough to be disappointed. As I return to my seat at the pavilion, I find that the sole tree within view of it has gained a visitor. He doesn't notice me, which is impressive considering the sunlight glimmering on my attire. His honey-brown eyes are fixed on Lord Edlin and on the stage instead, and I watch that stranger's frown deepen with every word. Something about him gives me a strange sense of deja vu. That face, that mane of golden hair, those eyes. Rahim, what an excellent speech you gave. I was almost certain there would be at least one sabotage attempt from our most ungracious host audience, but lo and behold, everything went well. Professor Veritas, I stopped short. This is not the woman who walked me through my room last night. My, such sharp, very suggestive little admiration, too. That's entirely your suggestion, Ambassador. So you do look... Your glamour is certainly well crafted. Dashing, yes, I know. You could have put it up to me to compliment you. My apologies, I cannot leave it to chance. So this is why I like him. Them. Not him. Them. They dress closer, their rich robes rustling around them, and come to stand unobtrusively by my side. When they begin to lean down, I suddenly have a very strong impression of all the stories about demons whispering in their victims' ear to seduce them. Behind Lucian, I can see a few of the courtiers turning to look at us. They quickly avert their eyes, however, when they see I was paying attention. Lucian, for their part, only waves a hand as though to choose where to fly. Their eyes flicker up to the tree where I spotted a certain stranger. I see you taking notice of an uninvited guest. So you are here to disturb trouble, Ambassador Veritas. Me, perish the thought. Truthfully, I was just over here to tell you I liked your performance. But far be it from me to ignore your curiosity. It's good to see our ex-net commander doing well. Maja would be glad for that news, if nothing else. Maja? Now that Lucian mentions it, I haven't seen the Archmage for all her generosity of rewarding me of this event. I had to stretch. Lucian inclines her head slowly. Know that you won't be getting anything from him if you choose to pursue. It would be impolite even to pry. They straighten and smirk. But I doubt anything exciting is going to be happening in the castle while you aren't there to witness it, Rahim. Or better yet, be at the center of the commotion. Good day. Okay, another quick anyway. Okay, I'll be back again. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully that will be the last pause before I finish this. The smell of the tavern hits me like a slap to the face as soon as I open the door. It's barely past noon, but this place is already full, but not especially lively. The low hum of conversation barely changes as a few heads turn to me, but then turn right back around. Not that this is enough to please certain people, and while I understand, I would never dream of you being influenced by something as trivial as that, my lord, my liege. I knew you would understand. I wrap my neck around his shoulder in what passes for a pat and a dismissal, and Cedric sighs again, doubling up on the dustiness, but he bows and backs away. I'll be standing watch for other curious and inconvenient eye of your impulsiveness. Yell if you need help. He smirks to ease the sting from his words and steps back outside, and I feel his ignore me spell uncoiling it from around me like he's taken my cloak with him before leaving. But it's just that, a cloak, and a fundamental, useful little enchantment. His daggers enough to protect me from anything inopportune that might happen here if my present company turns out to be frisky, which at the moment seems to consist mostly of drunks and people getting drunk. Eric isn't alone, disappointingly enough. There's a white-haired young man I don't recognize at his side, gesturing wildly and telling some sort of exciting tale. Though, in hindsight, that's not too big a disappointment, because when I come and sit down at a nearby table, neither of them even seem to notice. And my query right along with them, judging from the bottle in Nistrom's hand where he's sitting at the counter. And then I said, "Good luck," and clocked him in the face. So, am I in mistakes here again? Why must it be so gorgeous? But there's a problem. Everybody in the game is fucking gorgeous, even the people you can't romance. Even our majesties are fucking gorgeous. Why? Why you do this to me, Lunaris? Please, don't stop doing it to me, Lunaris. You never say just 2 words to somebody. You speak. I thought you were ignoring me, or worse, quietly hoping my story would end. Why not both? Liar, you love my stories and me. No, to both. Nistrom lifts the bottle of liquor to his lips and tilts it back, and back, and back, and back. Even with the hood and cloak I'm wearing, staring too hard would give me away. Still, I can't help but stare in disbelief. This was the commander of Errant's most elite order of knights. It's true that it's been over a year, but I can't imagine anyone who had the discipline that was no doubt required and ingrained in order to serve such a knighthood would. Perhaps I might have the wrong person after all. Even when Lucian said, "Looks like you've got an admirer." I realize too late that the white-haired man has gotten up from his seat, gracefully slides into the one right next to me instead, the one between Nistrom and myself, and winks. Damn. If you're looking for a truly handsome-faced friend, you really ought to be looking at me. Raiden, stop bothering random people. Oh, I would never stop paying attention to you for just random people, Eric. But it seems impolite to ignore the sparkly and important ambassador from Vithris, you know? Nistrom's bottle of liquor nearly slams onto the counter. I stare at the nosy stranger. He stares back, his mouth curved in a smirk, dimple included, and utterly unrepentant. He says it softly enough that the rest of the tavern don't seem to have noticed, at least. Still, for one brief moment, I feel sorely tempted to draw my dagger. I don't. Partially because that would simply be uncouth, and partially because Nistrom has strayed into his full height behind him now, and his stare carries a lot more weight. No avoiding it, then. Your keen-eyed friend is correct, but please don't be alarmed. I'm only here out of personal curiosity. You expect me to believe you came here alone, without ulterior motives at that. Keen-eyed? Flattery won't get you everywhere like it does in whatever gilded court you're used to dancing in. It was a remark, not flattery. I was your trying. Not capable of telling matters from flattery? Might as well play along then, at least for now. Oh well, always worth a try. Courts and taverns might be different, but people populate them all the same, yes? Wow, that's hurtful. Thinking we're on the same as whatever rot you've got going on in there. You're no more pleasant than them, I'll give you that. Aren't you going to ask what our new friend is here for first before you start flirting? Despite his words, Eric has leaned away from the conversation. He doesn't move his seat, just stares straight at the table corner instead. I can feel him drawing into himself and closing off like it's a physical thing. He doesn't want anything to do with me, that much is clear. It's a little disheartening, to be honest. I don't know what I expected coming here, either, but it's not this. Not this drinking, faded-out ghost of a knight commander I barely remember, but who still made enough of an impression on me to remember it. I mean, I just assumed the ambassador came here for sightseeing. It's what tourists do. Eric snorts, hoping to see if I was to blame, I suppose. He isn't wrong, but the more I look at him, the less I believe that I used to think this man is even capable of it. Well, of course it could be upset because his ploy didn't work. It isn't just a sullen, closed-off demeanor, however. And something else. Weariness in some shoulders and his downcast eyes, like someone very, very close to giving up entirely. His friendly towards only to block my view of him, a hand on his from shoulder, his grin sharp enough to cut glass. I know the gesture, one I'm used to from Cedric. It's protective. I apologize, since I've been doing a lot of staring lately. Can't blame you. Not many people get to witness this handsome mug. He gestures extravagantly at himself. I almost don't manage to control the urge to roll my eyes. What's your name, Ambassador Fancy Pants? And drinking ale or something stronger isn't going to make your delicate palate implode. Is it? Eric's right here. Might as well put it on his tab. Hey, what? I'm going to pay it anyway if you don't. Name's Raiden, by the way. Wouldn't bother looking me up if I were you. I'm nobody. He says it casually enough, like a throwaway line, but I feel a twinge of doubt. Does he know? No, surely nothing specific. If you want to stay alive in this world as a courtier, you have spice. You have means. You could call me Kadir. It's something to meet you. And Sir Nistrum. Just call him Eric, Rahim. I stare at him wide-eyed for a moment before I compose myself. He's slippery, I'll give him that. If you already knew my forename, why did you ask? Raiden shrugged. Just wanted to see if you would be honest. Why would I lie about something that would be so easily disproved as my public name? But not your private name, Don't tell me those rumors about veterans being named to deal with the Fae were true. I can't help but feel a little annoyed and a little unsettled. It seems for every 2 words I give him, he's drawing another 10 facts from me. So, on another level, I do admire how used he is drawn to this game. I doubt he'd enjoy working for someone like me, though. I know how to gauge potential acquaintances, and Raiden is much too keen for it. Almost sharp and shiny enough to distract me from the quiet, downcast man sitting behind him, staring intently at the bottle in his hand. I look back at Raiden, considering this speaks of 10 facts about the relationship without so much as a word. I'll leave you to your peace. Slowly, I move to get up. Raiden shrugs and wiggles his fingers, but doesn't stop me. And did I see Eric's shoulders loosen the slightest bit in relief? Is that real remorse or more the manners you rich folk like to turn your nose up at us for? You sure are distressing, and you sure are good at dodging direct questions. I put a hand to my chest and give him a mocking bow. 2 can play at that game. Career habits. Ambassador Kadir. Eric's voice stops me short. I look up at him, and Raiden does too, clearly surprised at his interruption. Did you have anything to do with it or not? He meets my eyes, and for a moment I see the knight I've been looking for. The searching gaze, so harsh and so sharp I can almost feel its pressure, like a naked blade being held to my throat. No, I didn't. And you can take my word for that, however much weight they carry for you. Eric says nothing, but instead scrutinizes me for a long moment. Then he turns away with a sigh, shoulders slumping, and the moment is broken. Raiden watches my every movement with an amount of interest bordering on rude, but he doesn't stop me. Neither does Eric. Good day, Sir Eric. And Raiden. Sure, Rahim. I pause. So do we pay Eric's tab or do we just leave? Lord Pete. I weighed down the woman loitering about plainly within hearing range. She probably overheard all of that conversation. I'll have to send Yvette to correct this as soon as possible. But for now, I guess you're the two men next to me. How much on their tabs? Them some hefty numbers. The glance she cuts me stinks of grease. I tossed a few coins on the table anyway, big ones, and judging from the way her eyes bulge, they're more than enough. What are you doing? I did say sorry about taking up your time. Now we're even. Happy drinking. Hey, Rahim, I changed my mind. Come back whenever you fancy. I smirk and wrap the cloak closer around me. This is a treat, not the start of a habit. Farewell, gentlemen. Almost done. Two more things. Weather's nice, isn't it? I shut the door and turned to find myself looking into the gleaming eyes of a fae. Gosh, that's so beautiful. How can I choose? A good day to you, neighbor. I didn't know fae wandered so freely around town when there's so many mortals bumbling about. The angel giggles, baring their sharp teeth, and their auburn curl tumbles into their face, and they push it back behind what I can only assume is a pointed ear. The cloak they're wearing hides too much. They press a finger to their lips with a wink and wink. Saw right through me to the core, eh? Would have expected no less from someone who lived on the divide. Errant doesn't have as much room among the stone walls and vague but enduring disdain and fear for their neighbors to allow for faint mischief. And if there is one that I need to no protection from, it's faint mischief. Sure enough, they just take me 2 steps to the side so we're clear of the door and the tavern windows. Where's Cedric? Oh, don't worry about your friend. He's just busy eavesdropping on some eavesdroppers. My name, that you may know, of course, is Rue, by the way. And what shall I call you? I look at them, considering. You may call me Rahim. I can hear the aunts and uncles' disapproving screeches already, if I put our family name on the lips of a neighbor dwelling so far away from our home. It's not like Rue might be tempted to do anything, aside from maybe using it to summon the more gullible familiars, but neat. They yanked her hood back and dropped into a mockery of a nobleman's bow, extravagant yet completely awkward, and I solemnly swear not to use what you have given me for any mischief that will cause foreseeable, irreparable harm within a mortal's lifetime. I appreciate your hard work in trying to earn my trust. Is it working? No. Rue crosses their arm and pipes, though the glimmer in their narrowed eyes is amusement, and there's definitely a twitch to the corners of their mouths. It's why Vipers earned such a reputation as roundabout talkers and idlers, I suppose. We go at the pace of those who have that terrible sense of time. A fae who's only here to have fun then? Or something else? That's the trouble with the neighbors. Sometimes they have business and sometimes they're just here to bother you, and you can't know until 6 or 7 minutes down the line. I suppose there's a further ulterior motive for you wanting my trust. Not at the moment, and you know we can't lie. At least not bear-wise like mortal races can. But this is not a youngling thing trying their hand at deception and interaction for the first time. I search their youthful, timeless face, see no sign of age, and that's the telling sign. Young fairies look young. The old ones look like they've just always been. Then what immediate reason do you have for reaching out to me like this? Rue shrugs, sweeping their arms wide. Interest mostly, curiosity, as he told my friends. Speeches are boring. Humans communicate using such long-winded yet utterly insincere ways. But I mean, you did wear a different shirt than all the other mortals. And that's all the interest you have in me? Maybe if you'd stop there, then you come here all curious about them to know I'm definitely invested in your interest. They grin, sharp teeth glinting. But I don't feel that they meant it as a threat at all, really, just what they say from their words and the bright look in their eyes. Curiosity, right. And what is this about Raiden and Eric being sons of the Fae when he's lived many years at that? Anyone might deal with neighbors for anything, but Rue called them friends. Fairies don't use that word lightly, and it takes a particular kind of people to earn that title. If I intruded on someone at your service, then I did it without knowing. What? No, Ray and Eric aren't my, what do you call them? Warlocks? That's the common term for it that I know of at any rate. Yes, that. No, we don't have a deal like that. I'm just... Suddenly, Rue pauses and looks at me with a different kind of look to their eyes. Then their face falls, almost pouting. So it's all deals and deeds where you came from, then? Why so skeptical of simple words? It's a hard question, even if posed and meant casually, made so by the one who asks and the one who will answer. I shift on my feet, having the sense that the answer might impact the space impression more than I would think. Skepticism is a healthy trait. When have the Fae ever sought simple friendship? I'm gonna go with the first one. I shrug. Skepticism is a healthy trait to have, especially for one like me towards one like you, and I should note that ought to work the opposite way as well. Ooh, I get it. You're trying to make me see that you're chatting me up for information, like Ray and his friends do. Well, thanks for the warning. I appreciate it. No, that's not Raheem. Quick as lightning, Rue yanks up the cloak back over their head. As I instinctively turn in the direction of Cedric's voice, I can feel a cool gust swirling around us. My leash. I apologize for my absence. Turns out the past instance and rights is spying on you. After all, I had to dispose of them. My things. I turned back to where Rue had been to find them predictably gone, without a trace. If I didn't know better, I might have thought the past 10 minutes were a daydream. Is something the matter? I just met an interesting person. Let's return to the castle before they start to get more wild tales to tell about us. I don't think anything we do or don't do will stop them from their gossips now, but you're right, of course. Let's. I'm in a mess here. Even with my best effort to keep myself busy in the miniature library that's now essentially mine, barely desk when I'm finished with the last report and message. Dinner was served in my quarters, so I didn't have to deal with the courtiers. Okay. Nice bump on the head. So I didn't have to deal with the courtiers, but at this point I'm almost ready to go looking for some human interaction, even if it means a fight. I'm just tired. I'll go take a nap after this. I was stupid and didn't sleep enough last night. Well, not stupid, I just got distracted. In Vitris, there's always something going on in the palace. Maybe a music show in the garden, poetry reading, a debate, archery contest, wine tasting. Sighing, I stand from my seat and grab my cloak. With my servant sent away, the silence is unbearable. Novians and the showing sense of hobbies. I know, right? Well, hello there, Raiden. What are you doing here? There's this way. How you do it moment. I will say that Raiden is smarter than Joey. That's not saying much. Not that I've seen a lot of other places' interior design that's not from this country, but whoa, hey, it's okay. It's only me. Cool snake, though. The serpent of crimson smoke coiling around me, released from Cedric's dagger, doesn't fade, because I didn't want it to this time. I could barely breathe through my thundering heart, and the gods echoed dread. How did he get in here? It was you, wasn't it? You were the assassin. Nah, I'm here by invitation. He rolls his eyes hard. Also, I don't miss. You don't know how many times I've said that today. Raiden idly closes the book he's been holding and sets it aside, and slides down to sit on the desk, his legs swinging. He's so carefree that the contrast of his mood, the fact that I somehow here in the palace, is giving me vertigo. Lucy let me in. You've met them, or at least they talked about you anyway. Ambassador Veritas? Yeah, the only one who knows how to have fun in this shithole of a castle. Look, Raheem, sorry to stall you. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything at all, but as you can see, I'm not here to cause trouble. At least not tonight, and not to you. Who exactly are you? You can still pretend this never happened. What exactly are you, Raiden? Raiden's eyes narrow, and his smirk sharpens into something just enough to cut. Tonight, like I said, I'm a guest. Like you are. But you've been doing things a guest shouldn't, haven't you? So really, it's me who should be asking what the hell you're really after, Ambassador. If you even know what you're after. I know it's none of your business. And my business is none of yours. See? We're even finger guns. So, before Cedric burst in here with the entire Royal Might Order on his heels. Oh, that's what the snake was, isn't it? A space god enchantment. Nice. I've seen one that manifested like that before. Would love to see how strong it isn't someday. He flips his feet and winks cheekily, and I tense. The Raiden only grins before yanking his mask up and stepping away. And then melts into the shadows. Almost. I wait for 3 seconds, then move to leave the room. I barely manage to get the door open before Cedric pops into view. You hiding from Vasile again? Would you leave that alone? Then it occurs to me how it's going to sound to him. If I tell him I let a wholesale assassin, at the very least, a very small burglar, go without so much boosting for help. Cedric doesn't scold. He plagues you with endless ribbing until you never repeat the mistake again. How is it that you're still in full armor at this hour? I squat around every corner waiting for you to prank spring my very responsive magic and then come running, of course. It's not like I have anything better to do or know any pretty men to kiss. Yet. He does eventually find a pretty man to kiss. I shake my head and Cedric checks up with a wink, but he bows and retreats as I step out of the study. Knowing Cedric is always within reach of the comfort, but the encounter with Raiden still leaves a chill in my bones. I thought Lucien was so friendly. Well, perhaps they are, because I'm not yet their enemy. This, if anything else, is a learning experience. The security net Commander Vasile sought to enact. Is it possible at all? This kingdom is on the precipice of change. Of that much I'm certain. If I'm to be part of that change, I don't yet know. But I feel something stirring my bones now that I've had a taste of Novus. I can't tell if it's a good or bad taste, however. Copper and bitter, or sweet and tart. Either way, I have a long road ahead of me. But somehow, I cannot wait to begin. And end of chapter. Made it. And hopefully that's the last time I have to read all of that. I mean, I don't mind playing through it because it's really interesting, but not so many times close together, you know? Okay. Maybe. Not that I need to, but I'm going to anyway. Just out of habit. Okay, so we're done with this. I don't know when I will re-record the night chapter prologue. Hopefully tomorrow or Tuesday, but we will see. And in case that makes the date clear, I recorded this on Sunday instead of Friday or Saturday like I intended to. But Thursday was the final episode of Critical Role's Campaign 2, and it was very emotional, and it got to me. I needed to decompress a bit. Depending on when the revamp or when the net comes is released, I may pause in doing these to get through that. I will not be doing the Piper romance, however. I'm going to do a different romance. I'm not going to say which one. More because I've been looking at playthroughs on YouTube, and there's a couple of romances that are missing. So I want to give them a fair shake. I mean, it does make it clear that there are preferences among the fan base, and I suppose, given enough time, they will get plays recorded. But it's just like I may as well contribute somehow. But for the time being, I will continue with Errant Kingdom. Gosh, I'm tired. I'm gonna stop here, stop recording, and I will upload this as soon as I can. So take care, and I will see you whenever. Bye.